And I know everyone around the world who's listening to this has heard about the conflict in Armenia and the effect on the people there. So if we could go to the next slide. So we're going to be covering just some of the key points here. We're going to cover the need for the relief, which is because of this conflict, the history of TM in Armenia, helping the people when they had very challenging situations, such as the earthquake relief in 1989-90. We're going to talk about what we've been doing for the last 3 months, approaching the government of Armenia at every level, and about the provincial governments welcoming TM to help the people in the 10 different provinces of Armenia. TM teaching has begun in this project, and we'll be hearing from Svetlana Galstyan, the national leader, as well as John Gomeshian and Angela Sulyan, who are our 3 active TM teachers, and they have really been out doing a fantastic job, and you'll just hear briefly from everyone involved. And then Dr. Sandy Nidich is going to talk about how important TM is for overcoming PTSD and stress-related trauma, depression, anxiety, and insomnia, because that's what we're seeing throughout the country. On Saturday, the 24th of April, there was a very significant step forward from the United States government where President Biden acknowledged the genocide of the Armenians by the Ottoman Empire 106 years before. And Armenians have really had a long history of facing great challenges from their neighbors. And the 2020 hostilities with Azerbaijan have created trauma and stress that you see not just on the individual level, but really in the whole collective consciousness of the country. Just to review briefly, because it was something I think we all remember, and Raju Wynn and I were part of it, along with Raja Chris Kroll and Henry Clark and Richie Linda Quinn, Greg Minokian, Dr. David and Rodorm Johnson, and many others, Greg Minokian, who we'll be hearing from, that in the first team that went to Armenia in 1989-90, and then we were followed by a wonderful British team. And at that time, in December 1988, there were 2 huge earthquakes that hit Armenia, killing more than 25,000 people. It could be as many as 60,000 if you read the reports online. You can't really tell how many, but it's an enormous, enormous number. And it left hundreds of thousands of people homeless. The second largest city in Armenia, Leninakon, which is now called Gyumri, was particularly hard hit. And I know you've all heard the stories how a Russian named Joseph Golden visited MIU, and he saw the Golden Domes and persuaded MIU to send a delegation to Armenia to build a Golden Dome and to teach the Armenians transcendental meditation and the advanced techniques to relieve individual and collective stress. So a team of teachers from the US went there, and then a British team, and within 1 year they taught 30,000 people and saw just tremendous relief among everyone in the population. Here you see a big group that was taught doing a group meditation at the Polytechnic Institute in Yerevan in their big lecture hall. And then Chris Kroll, Raja Chris Kroll, one of the original teachers who taught over 1,500 people, said, we began, this picture incidentally is the first TM course in Armenia that was at the Ministry of Health in November 1989. And it's not only really the first course in Armenia, it was the first course in the entire Soviet Union, which is comprised of a great many CIS countries who are all independent countries now. And he says, we began with a private pilot course at the Ministry of Health to get permission to have TM publicly. Out of this small group, and I think it was 30 people in the first group, several doctors immediately saw the benefit of this simple, natural technique to dissolve stress. And then we started a series of large courses, some in excess of 1,000 participants. As the word spread throughout Europe, and quickly we expanded to Gyumri and to many other places. This is Greg Minokian, who taught in the earthquake area, and this is his very touching recollection of that time.
I often speak of the extraordinary experiences teaching in Gyumri after the earthquake. The children whose stutters vanished immediately after their first meditation, or the man who spoke for the first time since Sungait in the middle of personal instruction. However, the real miracle that I was privileged to witness as a conduit for this truly perfect knowledge was to see the light come back in the eyes of those who had felt to be condemned to defeat and despair. Their peaceful smiles and wobbly steps back toward the joy of life are like precious gems which continue to fill my heart.
So here we see some of the news coverage. Dr. Richie Quinn, who taught with Greg, Richie and Linda Quinn. And as I mentioned, the team taught 30,000 people over a year. We also had Drs. Doug and Linda Burks teach 200 people, the TM City program. And many of the early meditators and early translators, because we were English speaking in Armenia, which is Armenian speaking, became governors. And most of the people that you'll be hearing from here in this presentation are people who jumped in and helped back 30 years ago, and they're our strong governors and our leaders today. For example, Raja Wynn taught Angela Sulian, who's a medical doctor, many of you probably know, and she became a TM teacher and started the TM movement in Moldova. And then we have our wonderful national director, Svetlana Galstian, who became a TM teacher and the long-term national director of Armenia. So that's the past. You've heard about the need and how TM helped Armenia before. And today, in response to this conflict that happened in September, that was very traumatic for Armenia, we've established Armenia Recovery Now, a team of teachers from Armenia, along with Armenian American governors and supporters like David and me, have been working for the last 3 months with Armenia to move forward on this project so that we can provide the relief that TM brings and all of Maharishi's programs bring once again. Here we have Nina Dadayan, and she's a governor, was one of the early governors, taught early TTC, was the course leader for teacher training courses. And she's going to talk about the progress. It's always a process to be able to get permission to teach, to be able to do outreach and get everyone on board with the teaching. And she's going to describe what's happening there. And then David will take over in continuing the rest of the presentation.
You know, after the 44 days war, the situation in Armenia was, psychological situation in Armenia was similar to that which was after the earthquake in '89. when all teachers from United States and UK came to Armenia and helped a lot, because there was a lot of families, a lot of people, so many young people died, and they need kind of a support. And TM was the best option to help people. That's why this project started. Also, Ministry of Emergency announced a project also for psychologists to help people, but there was not enough psychologists. And that was also a very good option to be contacted with the Ministry of Emergency. And they accepted our team, local Armenian teachers. And they said, yeah, it's interesting. They had no idea what it is. And then they asked us to teach their psychologists who belongs to the ministry. And it was very successfully done by our teachers. And after that, our teacher, Sveta, went to Gyumri and started to teach psychologists there and people, the government of this region. So up to now, it is very successful, and we think that we will extend the project all over other regions of Armenia, and more teachers from abroad can come to help Armenia. Because at the moment we have only 3 professional TM teachers in Armenia, and we need much, much more. Thank you very much.
So in February, the Armenian government had made an urgent request for psychological relief for the people of Armenia. And this is really, we had tried to approach the government, but this was really the starting point, because the government was acknowledging that there was a tremendous problem and trying to reach out and thinking psychologists would be very good to help. And we, of course, sent them all the research and a proposal saying, see all the research on transcendental meditation. And we want to thank the 40 governors who stepped forward at that time, because we told everybody around the world we need to have at least 30 governors go because they want 30 people. And so I hope many of the 40 governors who applied will be able to go and help in Armenia. And the government ultimately said, well, our kind of grant proposal, our bid proposal, was really for professional psychologists. And we only had about 6 governors who were also psychologists. So we said, we'll raise the money ourselves, but we still want to help Armenia. And so now we're going to hear from Gayani Zargaryan. And Gayani has been accepted to the TTC course that's going to happen in Ukraine as soon as COVID permits. And she's been just a fantastic help in organizing everything.
Jai Gurudev, I'm Gayane Zargaryan. I'm the project coordinator of ArmeniaRecoveryNow Project, and I will speak about our outreach to the national government. We first appealed to the national government, to several ministries, and we got very good response from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Infrastructure and Local Administration, the Ministry of Emergency Situations, the Ministry of Education. They were very supportive of our proposal. After that, we decided to apply to provincial governments. We have had 9 meetings, 9 Zoom meetings with different high officials in the provinces of Armenia, and they are all very supportive. They are waiting for our team of governors to go to Armenia, to arrive to Armenia, and they will provide assistance in terms of giving us the best facilities they have and informing people, providing audience so that Armenian nation, the people who are under stress, they can learn TM and improve their condition and the condition in our country. And I want to thank everyone who is listening to me now. Please know that we are waiting for governors, best governors, most experienced governors to come to Armenia. And those who will not be able to come, please donate generously. Not much money is needed, but as little rivers get together, we'll have enough money to support at least 10 governors to teach TM in Armenia. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Jai Gurudev.
So the nation is opening to the rapid and effective reduction in traumatic stress that TM provides. Now let's just hear what some of the TM teachers who are teaching have when they recount what's happening. This is Svetlana Galstian, the National Director of TM in Armenia.
One lady who in fact has lost her husband and has to take care of her mother-in-law and 2 children, she writes, "This teaching gave me calmness deep inside me, which I was lacking. And now I take everything easy." Also I want to say that people, all these people are willing to help others. And one person whom I taught in Gyumri, and they were in the governor's office, one person, she has lots of responsibilities. She is head of a company, etc. And she is eager to bring this knowledge to all her company. Because once she experienced this bliss inside, she wants to share it with others. And as we know, Maharishi says that only happy people can be compassionate. Just using another word by Maharishi, it is no drop of love is lost. And that is why we are so very confident that we can help Armenia to face this challenge now. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for being in this project. Jai Gurudev.
So now Dr. Angela Sulian, who's the founding National Director of TM in Moldova and a TM teacher, shares some of the experiences she had and the group had when they learned TM just a couple weeks ago.
Jai Gurudev. I am Angela Sulian, TM teacher from Armenia. The whole nation has visible sense of PTSD and psychosomatic disorders. I had the opportunity to teach TM in 5 days to 20 displaced people. They didn't believe in any help. Teaching TM was not easy. My big experience in teaching helped me. In letters, they thank Maharishi and the TM teachers. We marked the end of the TM course with group photo in a joyful mood and hope. I hope that with the help of the kind-hearted people, we will get an opportunity to teach TM to everyone who needs assistance. Jai Gurudev.
And finally, John Gumishian, a new TM teacher who has been teaching across the country as well. He tells what he's been doing.
Jai Gurudev. Let me briefly show you about the TM activity in recent months. The first group that learned TM were psychologists of Ministry of Emergency, and they learned TM. Although skeptical at first, they they appreciated it. Another group was learned in TM, where in Yeregnadzor, one of the districts in Vayodzor of Armenia. And this is a small center where people are working with disabled children. Also, some parents had learned TM who had disabled children. So if for the staff, TM was a tool to overcome some tensions in the work, although they love their work. For parents, it was direct solution. They saw the changes, their attitude. And by the way, the teaching was possible because of two strong citas, Eka and Ami, who organized, and because of their radiance of this pure field of consciousness, things are happening. So this is a group activity, although as a TM teacher was only me, but it is a group. And among the group was one person who was in a war. And although he was a stable personality, but he saw the difference before and after when he used technique, and gaining the calmness and regaining the peacefulness inside was his feedback. Thank you.
So now our goal, we have 3 TM teachers in Armenia, but since the 6 of the 10 provincial governments have invited us to teach, we want to start out with the goal of 10 full-time TM teachers in Armenia. And that would mean travel expenses, housing, food, a reasonable salary. That would come to about $150,000 for 6 months for 10 TM teachers. In 1989, 10 teachers were able to teach 15,000 people in 6 months. So if we can arrange that, which is uncertain, but if we can, the cost would be around $10 instructed per person. Of course, with COVID and other restrictions, we may not be able to teach that many, but our goal is to teach 15,000 people in 6 months. The organizations that have been helping this Armenia Recovery Now project are the David Lynch Foundation, Alliance for PTSD Recovery, DLF Caucasus, Global Union of Scientists for Peace, and the institute that Dr. Seni Nidic is overseeing, Center for Social Emotional Health and Consciousness, which is at Marshi International University. To reach out, to help, our main goal now is to reach out to Armenians around the world so they can participate and support this project. They can go to the website for more information, aptsdr.org, or email contact@aptsdr.org. Now let's welcome Dr. Seni Nidic, who's a great expert in research on transcendental meditation and PTSD and other related issues, mental health issues. Welcome him to explain the research on TM and PTSD.
It's a great honor to be with everyone on this call for just an immensely important project, not only for the individuals who will be finding relief for their immediate, mostly, if not wholly, traumatic experience that they're having, but also providing them a lifelong tool that can help them develop their full potential and achieve full enlightenment. So this is a great opportunity for Armenia. It's a great opportunity for everyone on the call. And it's a tremendous opportunity for the entire world. Because what is happening in Armenia is not an isolated case. People are experiencing traumatic stress for a wide variety of reasons, from war violence to domestic violence, to trauma from injury, childhood trauma continuing into adulthood, from the COVID-19 pandemic is an amazing stressor that affects all of us worldwide.
I wanted to just show a few slides among the many published research we have in the area of mental health that is immediately relevant to the project being described in Armenia. This first slide is from a published study by David Shapiro, Dr. Brian Reese, Dr. Travis, and others with Congolese war refugees. So somewhat of a similar situation. So these refugees were able to, like in Armenia currently, take advantage of learning transcendental meditation. So in the same way, teachers of TM offered to teach transcendental meditation to these individuals suffering from tremendous traumatic stress and other mental health issues. This slide shows that an extended baseline period was done, showing a very high level of PTSD symptom severity. So this slide shows an extended baseline period, and these Congolese refugees, similar to people learning TM in Armenia today, then had the opportunity to learn transcendental meditation. And unlike other behavioral approaches, and we'll see a slide in just a minute comparing TM to the most widely used psychotherapy for PTSD, unlike these therapies, transcendental meditation, as many of us know, is a program whereby people can immediately transcend to deeper levels of awareness, quieter levels of awareness, experience greater restful alertness, development of consciousness. The effects are immediate. This shows that over a 30-day period, there's a reduction of basically 50%, which is really incredible, from baseline PTSD symptom severity, that over 135 days, or roughly 4.5 months, continue to remain at a very low level relative to where people started transcendental meditation. It shows a specific randomized control trial funded by the US Department of Defense with veterans suffering from documented PTSD. In this study, we compared transcendental meditation directly to the most widely used gold standard psychotherapy offered through all the Veterans Affairs institutions throughout the United States, and the same psychotherapy which is mainly used for PTSD throughout the world, called cognitive behavioral therapy, prolonged exposure. The blue line on the left, this is a PTSD interview, a one-on-one interview with an approved interviewer to administer the clinician-administered PTSD scale. These show effect sizes within each group. The blue line, the blue bar, with transcendental meditation showing an effect size of 0.9, which is a very large effect size. You may not be able to see this, but there's a legend in the lower left-hand side. Large effect size start at 0.8, medium effect sizes are lower at 0.5, and small effect size start around 0.2. Prolonged exposure, again, the gold standard psychotherapy, showed a good effect size, not quite to the level of transcendental meditation. And then the third group we had was a health education control group, who, as you can see, showed a small effect size. The middle set of bars looks at self-report post-traumatic stress disorder with a measure similar to what we're going to be administering to all the adults in the Armenia study. And again, we see that the effect size for transcendental meditation in the blue bar is really quite high, over 1.0. Prolonged exposure also did pretty well, showing a large effect size, although not quite as large as TM. And then correspondingly, health education showed a small effect size. We also gave out the patient health questionnaire depression scale, another measure that we'll be using with adults in the Armenia scale. And you can see correspondingly the same impact. Effect sizes provide us with the impact or the degree of treatment. And you can see that it is basically the same for depression as it was with PTSD symptoms. One thing that is extremely important, and right now we are finishing up a cost effectiveness or cost benefit analysis of this data, is that not everyone wants to practice standard psychotherapy. Why is that? Because cognitive behavioral therapies, such as prolonged exposure, require the person to recall their traumatic experience. It's not enough that we had to live through our traumatic experiences, but in order to alleviate some degree of the symptoms, we now have to recall them, describe them in detail, and then part of the treatment is a homework assignment to review the descriptions of the major traumatic experience that one has. For those who can do this, there is some relief. There's no question about that. But transcendental meditation is a totally non-trauma focused treatment. It is effortless to practice, as we know. It is easy to learn. And as we saw in the prior graph, Congolese refugees produces very immediate effects. So let's look at the next slide. This slide is from a very recent study published in Journal of Traumatic Stress, another major mental health journal, that has shown very large effects as well in the 4 outcome measures that we'll be using in the Armenia study with adults. First, the PTSD checklist, self-report, which we also saw on the previous slide. The Beck Depression Inventory, which is very similar to the PHQ-9 that we'll be using with Armenia. It was simply a different depression scale used in this study, again with veterans with documented PTSD symptoms. But we're also going to be using the Insomnia Severity Index, which is a very excellent measure of sleep problems. And then we'll be using corresponding anxiety measure as well. But if we look at these 4 measures, we see the same trends. Large effect sizes in the Transcendental Meditation program across the board. And we see it in PTSD symptom severity, sleep difficulties, depression, and anxiety. The last slide that I wanted to show you is people will ask, psychologists will ask, Ministry of Health in Armenia has already asked, well, how can a program that does not involve people reliving, recalling their traumatic experience, that doesn't focus on their trauma, how can it possibly be of value? And this gives us a very good insight to what is happening when one practices transcendental meditation. Physiologically, and this is showing images of what is happening in the brain, those areas of the brain which would tend to be overactivated due to traumatic stress, due to depression, due to anxiety, due to other psychological stress disorders, those areas of the brain see a deactivation during the practice of transcendental meditation. What shows increased activation in the brain is those areas that are responsible for greater alertness and greater awareness. We say that transcendental meditation is a technique for developing restful alertness, very deep rest in mind and body, and at the same time, the mind is fully alert. Consciousness is more expanded. There are other explanations for how transcendental meditation relieves PTSD symptoms and improves the mental health of the individual. And at the same time, the brain is functioning more efficiently in terms of improved health. Psychologically, we're feeling a greater sense of well-being. And as we heard in the testimonials before, one simply feels better, feels more rested. One becomes more resilient with the ability to overcome one's hardships in life. All of this indicates a greater sense of well-being, and this results immediately in improved quality of life. Ultimately, what is occurring with TM is that unlike virtually any other technique, TM is allowing us to expand the consciousness of the individual, that basic level of human intelligence, that inner level of our own intelligence. This becomes more enlivened, creating the ability to be more self-referral or inward, having a sense of greater control in one's life, rather than being subject to all of the outer hardships and whims of day-to-day living. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present some of this research. What we're going to be doing in Armenia very briefly is have over 1,000 people, and if David Shapiro's estimates are anywhere near correct, which we think they are, we'll have over 10,000 people or more in this demonstration research project measuring the mental health of adults, and we have some other measures that we feel comfortable giving out to children, to students, ages roughly 14 to 17, to assess their improvement as a result of their daily practice of TM. The assessment will be over several months, and we want to have something in hand that will be irrefutable to the Ministry of Health, so they can then pick up the project and allow virtually everyone in Armenia who wants to take part in the Transcendental Meditation Program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nidic. And David, anything that you would like to add at this point?
I think we just want to give everybody the final information of how to contact us. And our goal, as we said, is to support 10 TM teachers. And really, we realize that people won't be able probably to stay there for 6 months. We hope some people will be able to. So this may allow 20 teachers or more to come to Armenia and help. So our goal is to have 10 teachers that are working full-time for the next 6 months. And please share your Armenian contacts with us. Please donate to this project. At this point, even very small donations are really making things happen, because our governors are just getting out and doing this and teaching, and we just need to support them with travel and food and transportation while they're doing that if they have to spend the night. And so small donations, and we hope some large donors will come forward as well. And we really want Armenians to know about this. There's so many Armenian Americans and Armenians in Europe and Russia, all over the world, and all of them are thinking constantly about what can we do to help Armenia. So there really is a solution. There really is a way we can help. We're standing by to do it. Well, we're already doing it. We're not even standing by. So please share, please tell your Armenian contacts the story. Please share our contact information, contact at aptsdr.org. And if you're trying to remember what that is, it's Alliance for PTSD Recovery.org, or go to the aptsdr.org website to read the website and to donate to support this. And I think we have something up on the chat saying if you want to donate on PayPal, you can use this email address, contact@aptsdr.org, in order to make a donation via PayPal. If you go to the website, you can click on the story about Armenia and make a donation by credit card. And of course, there's also information about donating by check and all of that. So thank you so much. We really appreciate everybody's support, everyone's attention, the tremendous work that the governors of Armenia are already doing on this. And we appreciate so much everybody being willing to jump in and help them and raise Armenia to invincibility. Jai Gurdev.
Thank you, Maureen and David and Sandy and Svetlana. It's a very inspiring project. Armenia is such a beautiful country, very sweet people. And as Sandy brought out, this is something much bigger than just Armenia. It can help Armenia enormously. And the whole project to teach 10,000, do the scientific research, show the Ministry of Health that this can really help people and get them to support it. Transcendental meditation for all the people who need support, that will be a huge thing. But there are people suffering from big stress and from PTSD all around the world. In almost every country, there are many people. And with this project, it will bring it on a level of a government supporting transcendental meditation for the treatment of PTSD, and that will be a tremendous step for the whole world, because that will be a way to open the door to help all the people suffering from big stresses and PTSD all around the world. So congratulations to you all. It's wonderful. Second time helping Armenia after a disaster there. We hope it's the last time, and that Armenia will take it up now from a government level and implement it for their people, so that, as Maharshi always said, we bring in the light. When there's darkness in the room and people are tripping over things and hurting themselves and all kinds of problems come from darkness, but then we don't attend to the darkness, we don't attend to the trauma, we attend to bringing in the light. The light of pure consciousness makes the people feel good, and then their problems are able to be solved. So thank you all, and congratulations for mounting this beautiful project. And we hope many, many people will come forward, donate, and more TM teachers, particularly TM teachers who are psychologists, can come forward and teach in Armenia.